You know, I was out at the front of my house the other night looking up into the sky, and I saw the Southern Cross. And it's incredible that we can stand here on this planet and look out and see all of those suns from other solar systems shining back at us. So I thought it was time we found somebody who could tell us a little bit more about the stars. So I'd like you to meet Paul Curnow. Paul, welcome.
Thank you.
You're from?
The Astronomical Society of South Australia.
Now, see, I got you to say that in case I said, astrological.
Definitely don't say astrological.
It's got nothing to do with star
That's right.
signs, although star signs are really what it's all about in a funny sort of way, isn't it? Because in the past, historically, people have looked up into the stars and seen a lot of things that today we would just laugh at.
Sure. Astrology is a very different subject, though. Astronomy is a science.
I know that.
And they only use 12 zodiacal constellations, but there are a total of 88 constellations altogether.
But historically in the past, people would look up thinking the Earth was flat,
yes,
and that the heavens were sort of a dome, I suppose, over the Earth.
Yep.
So what they saw, they interpreted as gods and all sorts of odd things.
Yeah, certainly.
But today we know more.
We do.
We live on a round planet.
We do, yeah.
And you're taking people and giving them an adventure, so to speak, by understanding more about and being able to recognise the stars.
We teach people about how to find their way around the night sky, and I also
with a torch.
Not quite. We've got really powerful lasers that we can use and point up into the night sky, and we have viewing nights for people, and I also work for the planetarium, so we do that in the planetarium as well, where we can take people on a tour of the night sky.
Amazing. I was brought up in the Adelaide Hills,
yep.
So there weren't a lot of street lights in those days, so it was wonderful because you could look up and it was just... I remember going to church as a kid and being told that they were angels, and I thought, gee, there's a lot of angels up there.
Yeah.
Or is that a lot of dead people? What is it? But it's interesting how education has changed the way we look at everything, and this is certainly one of those opportunities that people of any age group can basically get out and learn more. So how do you help them do that?
Well, astronomy is one of those sciences where people can get out in their backyard. I mean, you don't need a lot of money to take up astronomy. You just walk out into the backyard and the stars are there. So basically we offer them an avenue to meet people of like mind and to teach them about the night sky, to give them options on where to buy telescopes and so on. We have a number of observatories like the Stockport Observatory, which is located 1 hour's drive north of Adelaide. And we have a number of telescopes set up there, like the telescope here is a 20-inch or half-metre mirror, so that is the light-gathering capability of that particular telescope.
And this little one here?
And this one here, I'm not sure. That's about a 12-inch probably, but members of the Astronomical Society, you can see here, are actually volunteering their time to spend time with people and teach the general public the night sky and give them... Sometimes, people see their first crater on the moon and first time they've seen the rings around Saturn and so on. And
these societies are basically all over the country, so wherever you live, Google it, I suppose.
Yeah. The Astronomical Society here is the oldest of its type in Australia. It was founded in 1892.
Here being in Adelaide.
In Adelaide, correct, yeah. And but there are astronomical societies in most major cities and most major towns.
Now, okay, so I'm interested. I don't know that I've got a great memory for all the different... Oh, look at this one. It looks like a cannon that you could get in and be fired out of.
That's a nice, yeah. That's actually at a star party, they're called, that we held at Lake Tyrrell in Victoria, quite close to the town of Sea Lake. And another group of people with Astronomical Society members. This is out at the uni at Mawson Lakes, and we've got telescopes set up on the roof there, and people are able to have a look at the night sky. But of course, the reason we want to have parties where we look at the night sky away from the city is because of the light pollution we have in the city. It's
incredible, isn't it? You don't realise until you actually go to... Well, even here in South Australia, we can drive down from the Adelaide Hills, and if you don't drive down the freeway, that of course is all lit up, it's amazing the difference. And this is... Well, that was beautiful. I love this.
That's just a shot I took of the moon with my 10-inch telescope. And it's just holding the camera up to the eyepiece basically, and you can get shots like this. But now we have more sophisticated setups where you can attach cameras to telescopes, and the telescopes will track the object and so on. But yeah.
So with the Hubble telescope and more sort of adventuring in space with the technology that we have, how much is that teaching us that we didn't know before?
What it's teaching us more is about what's out in the wider universe. Basically, we're learning more about other galaxies. We're learning more about how stars are formed. We're learning about the expansion of the universe and so on. So it's giving us a greater grasp of our wider environment.
Do you think this is a good thing because it puts us in perspective as human beings to understand more about what's out there?
Certainly, yeah. I think we live in an age, I mean, we're in the 21st century now, and we still live in an age where there's a lot of scientific ignorance.
Yep.
And so I think it's far more, I think it's far better having a good understanding of science and what's out there rather than just thinking about, what's on the earth and not, people make a lot of bad decisions based on scientific ignorance, decisions, political decisions, education and so on. So I think it's very, very important to be scientifically literate.
Yeah, I find it fascinating though that a lot of people miss the point with all of this. I mean, this incredible solar system is out there. We're this tiny, weeny little dot, pinprick, if you like. The understanding that what we're seeing in the sky is more, we're seeing the suns from the solar system, not the planets going around them.
Well, what we're seeing is we have a solar system is one star with planets going around it, basically. So when we look at other stars, we're only seeing stars naked eye in our galaxy. When we look out to the wider universe using telescopes like Hubble, we're looking at other galaxies in the visible universe. Now, in our galaxy alone, there are about 100 billion suns. Now, some of those have planets and some of them may not. And then if we talk about other galaxies in the visible universe, we're looking at about 120 billion other galaxies in the visible universe. So there are more stars in the visible universe than there are grains of sand on all of the beaches and all of the deserts of the entire planet Earth.
See, that's hard to comprehend, isn't it? And you can understand why people have perhaps opted for a childlike story or explanation for things.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's just mind-blowing.
And I mean, in the early times, that's the way they explained things. How did the stars get there? How did the planets get there? So they turned to stories to
Well, the
try and explain
Aboriginal
that.
stories, because we live in Australia, we should really listen to those Aboriginal stories perhaps before the other fantasies. But I find that fascinating as a simple way of explaining to a child. But then a time comes that we really need to embrace the reality.
Sure.
So you take people out under the night skies, out into the bush or out into the desert?
Sometimes we do. We had a star party recently in Woomera where we took our planetarium students out there, and the Astronomical Society have big get-togethers between societies. For example, they have a star party called Vic South where the Astronomical Society of Victoria and the Astronomical Society of South Australia come together in Nil in Victoria. So and
why Nil is that?
Dark skies. Dark skies, absolutely.
No lights in Nil? Pedal harder on the electricity grid?
Well, it's the skies are still pretty dark there. It's by the Little Desert National Park, I believe. So I actually haven't been to that star party, but
you're going soon.
I'm going to try. Yeah.
Now it's just wonderful, and if people are looking to find out more, obviously there's a lot of information on the internet now, which is wonderful.
Yep.
There's been a bit of a spate of TV shows trying to explain. We were talking about. Oh gosh, I can't think of his name. Professor, the guy that used to be a rock star, who's
Brian Cox.
Brian Cox,
yes.
Brian certainly made a lot more people aware, more of the physics though of the universe, hasn't he?
Yeah, certainly.
But it's also opened, I think, our eyes to there's more going on out there than we have really any real knowledge of. But the technology and the knowledge today is obviously far greater than even 100 years ago. So
certainly.
where will we be in another 100 years with the new telescopes that are being shot up into space?
Well, you think within 100 years we've basically gone from not being able to fly to be able to fly, not only to be able to fly, but to put probes on Mars, to send space probes out to Jupiter in less than 100 years. So that's pretty amazing. I mean, we had probes out at Jupiter in the early 70s. So in about 70 years we went from humans that couldn't fly to having probes looking at other planets. So that's pretty amazing.
And I suppose that's why the rest of the world is finding it difficult to catch up with understanding, and how the old stories are often handed down from, you know, father to son, mother to daughter.
Sure.
And therefore we're not embracing where the planet really is, because it puts war and famine and disease and everything into a completely different perspective when you realise that we're just this little pinprick of life.
And the more I find I understand about astronomy, the smaller I feel. You know, because in the early
But we're
days...
all part of it, though.
That's right.
That's the exciting thing. Although it's bigger than us, we're still very much a part of it. And everything that has made us was always here, and will always be.
And we're
here.
actually made from the stuff that's manufactured in a star.
In the stars.
So we're
made
quite
of
literally
stars.
star stuff.
We're stars, everyone. We're stars.
We are.
We should be pleased about that. So if people want to find out more, Google
the Astronomical Society of South Australia if you're in Adelaide. If you're somewhere else in Australia, Google the Astronomical Society of whatever your town is. Some places have local planetariums and so on, but most towns will have a group.
And we'll do a link on Facebook so that people can find out from there. Thanks so much. That's very interesting, Paul. A pleasure to speak with you.
Thank you.